The city's already identified a dozen sections of Loop 12 as the worst spots for traffic deaths and injuries in Dallas. Now in our series, Driven to Death, senior investigative reporter Scott Friedman asks what can be done about one stretch where 5 pedestrians have died in less than 1 year. Scott?
Yeah, Brian, a City of Dallas study in 2022 found the 12 most dangerous locations for traffic deaths and injuries in the whole city were all on Loop 12. Take a look. Each of these dots represents a fatal or serious injury crash on the loop. According to TxDOT data, at least 479 serious injuries and 105 fatalities in less than 5 years on what has become a loop of injury and death. Loop 12 is known as Northwest Highway to the north, Buckner Boulevard to the east, Walton Walker to the west, and in southern Dallas, it's Great Trinity Forest and Ledbetter. That's where we focus tonight, on one stretch where pedestrians are dying again and again. Loop 12 is where Arthur Fleming lost his sister.
I'm going to do what I can to make sure that the killing stops over here in this area.
Betty Sue Fleming was 77. She was headed to the store on an evening in November, crossing the street here in the 2800 block of Ledbetter when a car crashed into her.
This area needs to be modified to be more pedestrian friendly. Right now it's not pedestrian friendly.
NBC5 Investigates searched TxDOT crash records and discovered Betty Sue was the 5th pedestrian to die in just 11 months of 2023 on this stretch of Loop 12 near Bonneview Road. And TxDOT records show over the last 10 years, 11 pedestrians have died within less than a mile of where Betty Sue was killed. A police report says Betty Sue caused the crash because she was not in a crosswalk. When that happens, police typically say the pedestrian failed to yield the right-of-way to the car. But some road safety advocates say that finding often ignores other important questions about whether the street was designed to give pedestrians safe, convenient places to cross.
You have the police saying, oh, they were jaywalking, they broke the rules, where really the responsibility should largely fall on the road designers, in my view.
Urban planner David Zipper walked parts of Loop 12 with us last fall and was stunned to see lots of pedestrian traffic and no mid-block crosswalks near bus stops, apartment buildings, and stores, leaving pedestrians to walk long distances sometimes to find a crosswalk. Without safe, easy places to cross, Zipper says traffic engineers should expect people will take their chances and cross in the middle of the street.
It's the road designers who really failed in the beginning. And I would say it's still a failure that it hasn't been fixed yet, because this road looks like it's been here for decades.
Near where Betty Sue Fleming died, there's a bus stop where our cameras saw people constantly walking across the middle of the street. From above, we could see how people dodge traffic here. Watch how this pedestrian walks slowly, then leaps forward to get out of the path of a moving car. If you look up this location on Google Street View, you will see images of pedestrians crossing here mid-block dating back years. Traffic planners sometimes call this the desire line, the place where it's clear humans instinctively want to cross.
Wait to cross.
Some cities like Austin are installing more mid-block crosswalks with pedestrian-activated stoplights in places where pedestrians have been killed. Arthur Fleming wonders why it hasn't happened on Loop 12 in southern Dallas, where so many have died.
I see neglect. I see community neglect. I see a not caring bureaucracy.
There are 2 bureaucracies in charge of Loop 12. It's a City of Dallas street and a state highway. Records we obtained show the city's transportation department and the Texas Department of Transportation have been aware of pedestrian dangers on the loop for years. 2 years ago, the city's Vision Zero road safety plan identified the section of Ledbetter where Betty Sue Fleming died as one of Dallas's top 5 locations for pedestrian deaths and serious injuries. And in 2019, a TxDOT study raised concerns about pedestrian safety on another nearby section of Loop 12 further east, where at least 5 more pedestrians have died. The report says engineers observed generally aggressive vehicle pedestrian behaviors and a lot of jaywalking, along with some vehicular disregard for pedestrians. They found most pedestrians were crossing Loop 12 to access the DART bus stops. And the report mentions possible solutions involved installation of crosswalks, adding pedestrian bridges, or implementing pedestrian signals such as pedestrian hybrid beacons. Those flashing lights we showed you Austin is installing in more locations. So why haven't pedestrian beacons and mid-block crosswalks been installed here to protect people? One possible answer can be found deep in that 2019 TxDOT report. The report says TxDOT installs pedestrian hybrid beacons only on roadways with speed limits of 40 miles per hour or lower. On Loop 12, the state set the speed limit at 40 and 50. So TxDOT would have to conduct traffic studies and recommend a lower speed limit before beacons and mid-block crossings could be installed.
They have a policy that says that you can't install a pedestrian signal if the speeds are 40 miles an hour or higher.
Last fall, Dallas's chief transportation planner told us the city would like to reduce speeds on the loop and install mid-block crossings.
They set the speed limit at 40, which prevents you from putting in additional safe places for people to cross?
Yes. I mean, we could put in a bridge, but that's very expensive. A lot of times people don't use them. So it has resulted in taking away some of the tools in the toolbox.
For months, NBC5 Investigates is asked to interview TxDOT's Dallas District Engineer, Cecil Clemens, who oversees the region's state roads. But through a spokesman, our requests have been declined. In a statement, the spokesman told us TxDOT conducted a speed study on one section of Loop 12 this summer, and it is still being discussed with the city of Dallas to determine if any revisions to the current speed limits are needed. TxDOT told us the department has spent $15 million on projects along Loop 12 since 2015, including upgrading traffic signals and installing sidewalks. The spokesman says TxDOT will continue to work with the city of Dallas and DART to improve pedestrian safety. Arthur Fleming wants more urgency.
And so we're going to try to wake them up and see if we can't make them care, or at least respond to what we're talking about.
Fleming, who once headed Dallas's NAACP chapter, says he plans to push city officials to advocate for more rapid changes. In a statement, the city's transportation director told us we are currently evaluating opportunities for improvements in coordination with our partnering agencies, including TxDOT and DART. The city is also considering bond funding to improve street lighting on 6 sections of Loop 12. But Fleming believes it will take more to make the loop safer for southern Dallas.
And that's what I'm going to do, try to organize some folks to go down and see if we can't get something done about it, citywide, but particularly over here.
TxDOT's 2019 study on Loop 12 found 85% of the drivers on the section they studied travel above the posted speed limit. Higher speeds obviously make pedestrian crashes more deadly. TxDOT says more speed enforcement is needed, but some road safety advocates say police can't always be there and that changing the physical design of the road is often more effective, Brian, at calming speeds.
So, Scott, you focused on that southern section of Loop 12. Loop 12 goes all around the city. Are there other areas of concern here?
Absolutely.
Tonight, lower speed limits are on the way for some of Dallas's most dangerous roads, and well, those changes started with an NBC5 investigation. The Dallas City Council has now voted to reduce speed limits on a stretch of US 75 Central Expressway north of downtown and also on portions of Loop 12. Roads where NBC5 Investigates has exposed extreme speeds and an unbelievable number of deadly crashes over a nearly year-long series of reports. Well, senior investigative reporter Scott Friedman has the changes and what they could mean for safety.
It's the most deadly road in Dallas, and for more than a year, we've shined a light on why.
Perfect example, and that's all day. I mean, that's what happens here all day.
Neighbors along Loop 12 have shown us how high speeds mix with heavy pedestrian traffic and a lack of convenient crosswalks, often with life-altering results. Already this year, 15 deadly crashes on the loop as community leaders plead for help.
It's an emergency that needs to be taken care of immediately.
But today, the city took a major step aimed at slowing the dangerous speeds.
This is an extremely important piece of policy that is going to hopefully save lives of Dallasites.
The city council voted to lower the speed limit on sections of Loop 12 on stretches also known as Ledbetter Boulevard, Great Trinity Forest Way, and Buckner Boulevard. Speeds will be reduced in some spots from 45 to 40 miles per hour, including on a small, roughly 1 mile stretch where we reported 6 pedestrians were struck and killed in just 17 months.
I think it's important for people to understand that lowering speed limits is not a cure-all. This is just one aspect of a comprehensive approach to addressing this problematic issue.
That more comprehensive change is already in the works. After our reporting, State Senator Royce West pulled together transportation officials to find solutions, including TxDOT, which shares responsibility for Loop 12. It's also a state highway. The state and city and other agencies are now working to implement dozens of other safety strategies. And TxDOT conducted speed studies, which gave the city the green light to lower the speed limit today. Arthur Fleming, whose sister Betty Sue died trying to cross Loop 12, believes it's a move in the right direction.
Well, I'm just glad that her death will be a part of getting something done so we can stop the killing.
Tonight, the state and city have also agreed to lower the speed limit on a major Dallas freeway, where NBC5 Investigates documented extreme speeds in our series Driven to Death.
128 motorcycle.
Earlier this year, we clocked drivers above 120 and even 130 miles per hour on 75 Central Expressway north of downtown.
127. 133.
In the wake of our reports, Dallas City Council member Paul Ridley called on TxDOT to re-examine the speed limit. The agency had raised it 9 years ago to 70 miles per hour, saying it would alleviate congestion. Now, after a new speed study, the state has agreed to a lower 65 mile per hour limit, and the City Council approved.
So it's a work in progress. We have to do things like this, lowering speed limits, traffic calming measures, in order to carry out that goal and achieve what we're trying to do here.
Road safety experts say a speed limit reduction may not change driver behavior alone, but it will allow police to write more serious tickets or even arrest extreme speeders at a lower speed threshold, which might help curb triple-digit speeds we've seen again and again.
105, 106.
Scott Friedman, NBC5 Investigates.
And TxDOT tells us now that the city has approved the lower limits and it'll install new signs soon. Then police will begin enforcing those new limits.
To see what's wrong with Loop 12, all you have to do is take a walk.
I mean, look at these cars, how fast they going.
It's like a raceway.
Right, and it's a child right there.
Oh my gosh.
You see what I'm saying?
That's frightening.
Taylor Toynes leads the 4 Oak Cliff Community Center, right on the Ledbetter Boulevard section of Loop 12.
I'm troubled by the speed that people are going down Ledbetter. They drive it like it's a freeway.
Speed is just one part of the problem. For months, NBC5 Investigates has shown how the loop leaves many pedestrians in southern Dallas with a terrible choice. Either walk a long way to try to find a crosswalk, or risk cutting across 6 lanes of traffic to get to the other side. In just the first 9 months of this year, there have been 15 fatal crashes on Loop 12, making it the deadliest roadway in the city again this year. 6 of the dead are pedestrians, including one who died near Ledbetter and Bonneview Road, where our review of TxDOT crash data found a roughly 1 mile stretch where 6 pedestrians have been killed in just 17 months.
It's an emergency that needs to be taken care of immediately.
Now, one of the region's top transportation officials says he agrees.
Is it being dealt with like it's an emergency?
I think it is an emergency, and I think it's being dealt that way.
Michael Morris, transportation director at the North Central Texas Council of Governments, tells us his agency will help lead major efforts to reshape Loop 12 into a slower and safer street.
But I think you're going to see dozens of strategies being implemented over the next year, and maybe dozens of strategies being implemented in addition to that as we see what works and what doesn't work.
Dozens? You're saying real action is happening to address this right away?
Yeah, it's affecting all of us.